They drown in the noise of their own regret. They thought you were weak, that your silence was some kind of game. They told themselves, you'll come crawling back any minute now. But you didn't. And that's when the panic set in. Because silence, it doesn't knock. It echoes. And when it does, my friends, it shakes people to their core. Before we go deep, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because this one's going to hit home. Hey folks, imagine this. You're in a room full of people. Everyone's talking, shouting, throwing opinions around like confetti. But then, one person gets up and leaves. No fight, no speech, no drama. Just gone. At first, no one notices. Then time passes, and suddenly everyone's looking around like, wait, where did they go? That's you. Your silence didn't slam doors. It left them open, just wide enough for them to realize what they lost. You didn't go silent to play games. Let's get that lie out of the way. You weren't sitting there thinking, this'll show them. No, my friend. You went quiet because you were tired of repeating yourself, because your words were falling on ears that only heard what they wanted to, because you were done trying to pour love into a cracked glass that never held it. That's not manipulation. That's self-respect. They called it passive. They called it petty. But what they never understood is that your silence was your way of screaming, I deserve better, without having to raise your voice. And guess what? It worked. Not because they understood your pain, but because they started to feel their own. And it wasn't you causing it. It was the empty space you left behind. You see, silence has a funny way of turning the tables. It doesn't just walk out. It invites the other person to sit alone with their own thoughts. And that is terrifying, because now they're haunted by every word you didn't say, every text you didn't send, every reaction you didn't give. And deep down, they know. They pushed you to this point. They gambled with your presence, and now they're stuck replaying memories like a broken record, trying to find the part where they went wrong. And let's not forget, those same people who said you were too much are now out here acting like your silence is too loud. Ain't that something? Folks, your healing will always look like betrayal to the ones who thrived off your suffering. Remember that. They only loved you when you were soft, available, and easy to manipulate. The moment you chose silence over chaos, peace over proving yourself, boundaries over begging, you became dangerous. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about revenge. You didn't stay silent to make them chase you. You stayed silent because chasing them would have meant losing yourself. And now they're the ones chasing ghosts. They check your socials. They ask mutual friends. They wonder why they haven't heard from you. And the truth is simple. You finally heard yourself. Let them wonder. Let them feel the weight of the silence they forced you into. Because it's not your job to explain peace to those who only understand war. It's not your job to go back and fix what they broke. You didn't choose silence to hurt them, but it did. Because when someone loses access to your energy, they eventually realize it was never just attention, it was value. So here's your reminder. You are not heartless for protecting your heart. You are not cold for choosing calm. You are not wrong for walking away from what was draining your soul. And if that makes them uncomfortable, good. Maybe that's what they need to grow. Drop this in the comments right now. I protect my peace. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because we're just getting started. Go in your mind. don't they? What if they think I never cared? What if they believe I just gave up? What if walking away makes me the villain in their story? Let me tell you something powerful. People will rewrite your role in their lives to protect their own guilt. If seeing you hurt made them feel better, then watching you rise in silence terrifies them, because now they're left with nothing but their own reflection, and it doesn't look as heroic as they thought. They don't miss your presence. They miss having access to your energy, to your kindness, to your loyalty, to your effort. They miss the version of you that tolerated things you now refuse to. But of course it's hard. Of course it messes with your head. We're wired to want closure, to want understanding. You wanted them to get it. You wanted them to say, I finally see your worth. But here's the kicker. Not everyone is built to recognize gold when they're holding it. Some people only realize your value when you become unavailable, and sometimes they never realize it at all. That's not your failure. That's their loss. You weren't quiet because you didn't care. You were quiet because you cared too much, too deeply, for too long, until it drained you. Until your soul was whispering, please, no more. And that whisper, that was the real you. The version of you that had been silenced for years, finally taking control. Choosing quiet doesn't make you weak. It makes you aware. Aware of what you deserve. Aware of what no longer serves you. You want to know why silence is so misunderstood? Because it's uncomfortable. We're taught to explain everything, justify everything, defend ourselves constantly. But here's a truth bomb for you. Not everything requires a response. Not everyone deserves an explanation. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing, because silence speaks in frequencies the guilty can't ignore. People who loved your noise but hated your needs will always resent your silence. Let them. Let them wrestle with it. Let them fill in the blanks. Because while they're obsessing over the version of you they lost, you're becoming the version of you they never deserved in the first place. Now is the time to rise, not with a bang, but with unshakable calm. Your silence isn't a game. It's a statement, a declaration, that you will no longer shrink to fit their comfort, that you will no longer trade your peace for their attention, that you've outgrown the need to be understood by those who were never listening in the first place. You're not here to make them feel better about hurting you. You're here to heal, to grow, to evolve. And maybe, just maybe, your silence was the first seed of that transformation. Watch what blooms next. Drop this in the comments right now. My silence is self-respect. Let it be your truth. Say it, show it, own it. Let the world feel the shift in your energy, and don't you dare apologize for it. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because in the next part, we're going even deeper. You thought your silence changed things. Wait until you see what happens when you evolve in plain sight. Number 2, the real reason you disappeared. You didn't walk away to make noise. You walked away so you could finally hear yourself think. They'll swear you disappeared to punish them, that you left just to make them feel your absence. But let's tell the truth today, my friends. You didn't leave to be missed. You left because staying meant losing yourself. There comes a point when the noise around you is so loud, so chaotic, so soul-draining, that the only way to survive is to go silent, to walk away, to vanish. Not for revenge, not for applause, but for peace. Imagine being trapped in a burning building. Smoke fills your lungs. The flames are getting closer. You call out for help, but no one listens. You scream, and they tell you you're overreacting. You beg, and they laugh. You try to explain the fire, and they say, "It's not that bad." Eventually, you stop explaining, you stop asking, and you run. Not because you want to prove anything, but because the fire will. They were heartless. That's easier than admitting they pushed you away. It's easier than facing the truth, that they crossed line after line, and you kept redrawing the boundaries until there was no space left for you to stand. The truth is, your disappearance wasn't a performance. It was an act of self-preservation. Nobody talks about how exhausting it is to constantly explain your worth, to constantly justify your needs, to constantly be told you're too emotional, too distant, too much, or not enough. So you did what anyone drowning would do. You swam for the shore, even if it meant swimming alone. And let's not act like it was easy. Walking away from people you love, that's not strength, that's heartbreak. That's crying on the bathroom floor. That's waking up at 3 a.m., wondering if you made a mistake. That's questioning your own value because someone else refused to see it. But despite all that, you still chose you. You still ran from the fire. And that's the kind of strength no one claps for, but everyone envies. Here's what most people don't understand. You didn't leave to teach them a lesson. You left because the environment was becoming the lesson. You didn't disappear to be mysterious. You disappeared because you needed to stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a band-aid. They didn't notice your presence, but now they can't ignore your absence. And isn't that something? You see, sometimes we get so caught up in keeping people, we forget to keep ourselves. We abandon our own needs, silence our own voice, walk on eggshells just to maintain a connection that's already one-sided. And when the silence finally comes, it's not cold. It's a funeral for the version of you that kept shrinking to make others comfortable. But here's the best part. Silence is the beginning of return. Not to them, to you, to your own values, to your peace, to your wholeness. You're not missing anymore. You're being found by the person who matters most. So the next time someone asks why you disappeared, tell them the truth. Tell them you didn't leave to be missed. You left to stop missing yourself. You left the air, folks, because there's a lie floating around and way too many people are falling for it. It's called the Stoic scam. This idea that acting cold, distant and untouchable somehow makes you powerful. That if you never react, never feel, never flinch, you're in control. But let me tell you something real. Being cold isn't stoicism. It's just fear, dressed up in a suit and tie. See, there's a difference between being emotionally grounded and emotionally shut off. There's a difference between peace and pretending. But somewhere along the way, especially on social media and in these alpha advice circles, we've started to praise emotional suppression like it's enlightenment. You know the vibe. Don't care, don't feel, don't love, don't trust. Just stay quiet and smirk like a villain in a cheap movie. That's not strength. That's performance. Imagine a house with all the lights off. From the outside, it looks calm, still, peaceful even, but step inside, and it's cold, empty, lifeless. That's what fake stoicism looks like. A calm surface hiding a storm beneath it. You're not calm. You're frozen. You're not centered. You're shut down. And deep down, you know it. That's the scam. That's the lie we've been sold. Real Stoicism, the kind that moves mountains, isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about mastering your emotions, feeling them fully, but choosing not to be ruled by them. It's about crying in private and still showing up the next day with your head high. It's about wanting to scream, but choosing silence because peace matters more than being right. That's not weakness. That's discipline. That's growth. But you know why fake Stoicism is so tempting? Because vulnerability is scary. Because after you've been hurt, disappointed, or abandoned enough times, it's easier to shut down than to risk opening up again. Easier to pretend you don't care than admit that you once did, deeply. That's why people weaponize this idea of being stoic. Not to stay grounded, but to avoid vulnerability. And here's the dangerous part. When you fake stoicism, you don't just protect yourself from pain. You also block yourself from joy, from connection, from healing. You start living behind walls so high that even you can't see over them anymore. You stop trusting anyone. You stop letting anyone in. And then you tell yourself, this is peace. But inside, you're empty. You're just surviving. That's not peace. That's isolation. Let me tell you something real. There is nothing powerful about pretending. There's nothing impressive about being so guarded no one can reach you. True power is being able to say, yes, I've been hurt. Yes, I've been disappointed. But I'm still here. I still love. I still show up. And I still choose peace. That's the kind of strength that doesn't need to be loud to be felt. People will say, you've changed. And you'll say, I've grown. They'll say, you're so distant now. And you'll say, I've created space for my peace. They'll say, you don't react like you used to. And you'll say, I no longer give energy to what doesn't deserve it. That's not faking strength. That's embodying it. And when you truly reach that place, you don't need to cold shoulder people to feel powerful. Your presence does that for you. So the next time someone tells you to be more stoic, ask yourself, are they asking you to be grounded? Or are they asking you to be numb? Are they encouraging peace? Or pushing you into emotional silence so they don't have to feel them in pain? You just stopped covering up the pain they caused themselves. Let's get one thing straight, my friends. Your silence didn't break them. What broke them was the sound of their own conscience, finally echoing in the quiet you left behind. You didn't slam the door. You didn't scream or expose them. You didn't go on a campaign to tell the world who they really were. You just stopped talking. And somehow, that did more damage than any words ever could. You know why? Because when the noise stops, the truth gets loud. When you walk away, when you go silent, when you finally stop trying to explain yourself to people who were never really listening, that's when they have to listen to themselves. And most of them, they're not ready for that kind of honesty. Imagine this. You leave a messy room. Not your mess, of course. You just happen to be the only one cleaning it for years. You finally walk out. You don't throw things. You don't accuse anyone. You just leave. Quietly. And now, they're standing there, looking around at the disaster they created. And for the first time, they can't blame you for it. That's guilt. That's reality showing up uninvited. They'll tell people you hurt them, that you ghosted them, that you changed. But they won't say what really happened, that you were the one holding everything together, that you gave chance after chance, that you stayed far longer than you should have, that they had your loyalty, your time, your kindness, and they took it all for granted. They'll talk about your silence, but never about the chaos that caused it. Because guilt is tricky. It doesn't like to be seen, so it hides behind blame. It projects. It points fingers. You left me. You cut me off. You're heartless. No, friend, you were just done explaining why their behavior wasn't okay. You were done softening your tone so they wouldn't feel bad. You were done absorbing the impact of their choices. And now they have to feel the full weight of their own actions. And it's heavy. The pain they're feeling, it's not your fault. It's not your absence. It's the echo of everything you once tried to say, the boundaries you tried to set, the respect you asked for, the love you gave freely. They're finally hearing it now, and it hurts. Not because you said it cruelly, but because it was true. And the truth has a way of punching harder than any argument. But here's the real kicker. Some of them still won't admit it. They'll sit in that guilt and keep pretending it's your fault. Why? Because ownership takes strength. It takes courage to look in the mirror and say, I was the problem. Most people aren't ready for that conversation, so instead they villainize you. They turn your silence into a weapon, because if they admit it was just your peace, then they have to accept they were the storm. And hey, maybe part of you wanted them to feel it. Maybe, deep down, you hoped that one day they'd wake up and finally understand what they lost, that they'd see what they did and come back better. And it's okay to admit that. You're human. But understand this. Your silence isn't about getting revenge or forcing an apology. It's about making space for peace and letting the chips fall where they may. You gave them a chance. They wasted it. You told them what you needed. They ignored it. You stayed longer than you should have. They took it for granted. Patterns. They expect drama, closure, one last emotional explosion they can point to and say, see, that's why it ended. But when you give them nothing, the brain short-circuits. Because the human mind hates unanswered questions. It hates gaps in the story. And now they're stuck in that gap, replaying everything, scrambling for clues, searching for meaning in the silence you gifted them. Imagine it like this. They're trying to finish a puzzle, but the final piece, you, just vanished. No warning, no explanation, just gone. And now they can't stop staring at the empty space. They flip over every memory, reread old messages, rewind conversations, all to figure out what changed, what did I miss. That's the chaos, not yours, theirs. Because silence doesn't just confuse them, it unsettles them. It makes them question everything they thought they knew. It forces them to sit in their own discomfort. And the more you stay silent, the louder their mind becomes. Are they over me? Do they hate me? Did I ever matter? It becomes a loop, a torment, a spiral. Not because you said anything, but because you didn't. And here's the funny thing. They probably thought they had the upper hand. Maybe they expected you to beg, to seek closure, to explain yourself one more time. But when you gave them nothing, not a word, not a reaction, not even a passive-aggressive post, they started to sweat. Because suddenly, you weren't the predictable one. You were the one in control. You know why this works? Because silence is rare in a world addicted to noise. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants the last word. Everyone wants to prove their point. But when you say nothing, you become unforgettable. You become the unsolved equation in their mind. the question that keeps them up at night, because now they don't know what page you're on, and that uncertainty, it's eating them alive. But don't confuse their curiosity for care. Let's not fall for that trap. Just because they're wondering doesn't mean they're changing. Just because they're uncomfortable doesn't mean they suddenly respect your worth. Sometimes people don't miss you. They just miss knowing you, controlling you, reading you like a book they thought they'd finished. But you rewrote the ending, and you didn't bother to publish it. And look, I get it. You might feel guilty sometimes. You might wonder if they deserve closure, if you were too harsh. But let me remind you, you explained yourself when it mattered. You showed up. You spoke your truth. You gave chances, and they ignored your presence when it was warm, loud, and open. Now they're obsessed with your absence. That's not on you. That's karma in silence. You owe no explanation to people who made you feel invisible when you were right in front of them. You owe no closure to people who closed the door on your voice and only miss it now that it's gone. Let them chase ghosts. Let them sit with the unknown. You've got healing to do, peace to protect, a new chapter to write, one where you are the main character, not the afterthought. Your silence is not empty. It's full of power, full of clarity, full of everything you once wasted, trying to be understood by people who were committed to misunderstanding you. Drop this in the comments right now. I owe no explanation to those who ignored my presence. Say it. Stand in it. Let your silence speak louder than your explanations ever could. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because next, we're diving into what happens when your silence turns you into something they can't read, can't reach, and can't replace. Number 6. You became the mystery they can't solve. You don't have to be loud to be remembered. Sometimes being unreadable is what makes them never forget you. They thought they had you figured out. They thought you were simple, easy to read, easy to predict, easy to replace. That once they walked away or pushed you away, you'd eventually fade out like background noise. Another chapter, another story. But here's the twist they never saw coming. You didn't fade. You became a mystery. And mystery, it doesn't disappear. It lingers. It echoes. It haunts. When you were available, when you were expressive, when you tried to communicate, they didn't listen. They didn't value it. But when you pulled back, not in bitterness, not in rage, but in quiet, detached peace. Why does this silence feel heavier than any argument we ever had? You've become the unfinished sentence, the song stuck in their head, the chapter that never quite closed. And the best part? You're not even trying. You're not dropping hints. You're not playing games. You're just being quiet, calm, untouchable. And that silence, that shift in energy, it's doing all the work for you. Because the less you say, the more they think. The less you show, the more they imagine. And the more they imagine, the deeper they sink into the very mystery they created by never appreciating your clarity in the first place. You were once an open book, but now you're the sealed vault they no longer have access to. And that shift from explainable to unreadable is what makes you unforgettable. Let's not lie to ourselves. It wasn't always easy. At first, you wanted to explain. You wanted to say, "Hey, this hurt me." You wanted to share your side. But over time, you realized explaining yourself to someone who already decided not to listen was just draining your soul. So you stopped. Not because you didn't care, but because you finally cared more about your peace than their understanding. And here's where the real power lives. You stopped being available to people who only valued you when they had control. You stopped making yourself smaller to be understood. You stopped walking them through your emotions like a tour guide. And once that access was gone, so was their ability to define you. Now, they don't know what you're thinking. They don't know if you've moved on. They don't know if you still care. And that unknown, that's the storm they can't sleep through. Because people don't fear your presence, they fear your unpredictability, the idea that you're evolving without them, that you're healing, growing, and possibly, just possibly, becoming someone even they would chase, if they had the chance again. But that's the thing, they don't. Because the version of you they knew, that version explained. That version begged to be understood. That version apologized for having needs. But this version lets the silence speak. This version lets the mystery remain. And mystery, my friends, is powerful. It's what makes them keep checking, keep wondering, keep regretting. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're simply not available anymore. And nothing drives people crazier than losing access to something they once took for granted. Drop this in the comments right now. I became powerful the moment I stopped explaining myself. Let it be your truth. Let it be your reminder. Show yourself. Show them. Show the world what happens when you stop trying to be understood and start embracing who you really are. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because next, we're holding up the mirror. Your silence is making them see something they've been avoiding for a long time. Themselves. Number 7. The mirror effect. Silence makes people see themselves. Sometimes the loudest thing you can say is absolutely nothing, because silence, it reflects everything they tried to ignore. Let's talk about mirrors, my friends, not the ones that hang on your wall, the ones you become when you go silent. See, when you stop explaining, stop arguing, stop justifying yourself, you stop shielding people from who they really are. And that silence, that stillness, it becomes a mirror they never asked for, but can't look away from. You were once their emotional buffer, the one who softened the blow, the one who said, "It's okay," even when it wasn't. You made excuses, you lowered your voice, you forgave things that made your soul flinch. You stayed when you should have walked, and every time you explained your pain, they ignored it, minimized it, or twisted it back on you. So one day, you stopped, not out of malice, but out of exhaustion, out of clarity, out of self-respect. And the moment you did, the moment your voice went quiet, the moment your presence shifted from emotional cushion to calm, detached distance, that's when the mirror appeared. A mirror that showed them everything they didn't want to see. How they treated your love, how they dismissed your efforts, how they only heard your pain when it was convenient for them. You see, when you're no longer there to absorb the consequences of their behavior, they have no choice but to sit in the aftermath of their own choices. And trust me, people don't like that. They don't like being forced to face themselves. It's easier to project, easier to blame you. You changed. You gave up. You're acting cold. No, friend, you just stopped protecting them from their reflection. Imagine standing in front of a mirror after years of pretending, years of justifying your flaws, ignoring your mistakes, wearing a mask. And then, bam, you see yourself as you truly are. Raw, honest, unfiltered. That's terrifying. And that's exactly what your silence did to them. It showed them the gap between who they thought they were and how they actually showed up in your life. And that discomfort they're feeling, that unease, that's not on you. That's their truth showing up uninvited. That's every conversation they ignored, every boundary they crossed, every tear they didn't take seriously. Now, it's staring them in the face, and they can't mute it, scroll past it, or explain it away. But let's be real. This didn't happen overnight. You didn't go silent because you wanted to punish them. You went silent because you already said everything. You used your words, your vulnerability, your presence. And when all of that was met with indifference or disrespect, you realized something. You can't teach someone how to value you. They either do or they don't. So now, they sit with the echo of your absence. They feel the shift. And that mirror doesn't just show them what they lost. It shows them how they lost it. That's the part they weren't ready for. And the best part? You're not doing anything. You're not posting cryptic messages. You're not engaging in emotional chess. You're just being, living, healing. And that energy, that calm, detached peace, speaks louder than anything you could have ever said. It doesn't beg. It doesn't explain. It doesn't warn. It just reflects. Quietly. Powerfully. Here's something they'll never admit out loud. They miss the old you. The one they didn't have to try so hard for. The one who always made the first move. The one who over-explained, over-loved, over-functioned. But the mirror doesn't care about their comfort. It only shows the truth. And you? You've outgrown their version of you. You're no longer in the business of explaining yourself to people who made you feel like you were too much, just for having emotions. You're no longer available for guilt trips, disguised as closure. Your silence is your boundary now, and it's doing the talking for you. Drop this in the comments right now. My silence reflected their truth, not my failure. Say it. Let it sink in. Because when someone is uncomfortable with the mirror you hold up, that's not your burden to carry. It's their opportunity to grow. Whether they take it or not, that's on them. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because next, we're stepping into the final power move. The moment your silence stops echoing and your evolution begins. Let's talk about how healing becomes the loudest revenge of all. Number 8. The power was never in the silence. It was in the healing. You didn't destroy them. You just stopped allowing them to destroy you. And that's what destroyed them. Let's get one thing clear, my friends. The power was never in the silence. It was in what the silence gave you the space to do. Heal. The goal was never to make them feel what you felt. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't some secret plan to make them suffer. It was peace. You just wanted peace. But that peace, that's what hit them the hardest. You didn't lash out. You didn't expose them. You didn't retaliate. You healed. You got quiet. And in that quiet, you started to rebuild. You found the pieces of yourself they overlooked. You gave the love you once begged for to yourself. And while you were rising in silence, they were stuck in the story they wrote without thinking you'd ever leave. And here's the twist they never expected. You didn't break them. You just stopped letting them break you. You stopped participating in your own mistreatment. You stopped watering dead plants. You walked away not to hurt them, but to save yourself. And that's what made the biggest impact. Because there is nothing more powerful than a person who chooses healing over hostility. Nothing more unsettling than someone who walks away with grace and never looks back. Walking away wasn't cruel. It was the most loving, most powerful, most honest thing you've ever done. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your evolution. Let your growth speak for itself. Let your peace disturb the ones who thrived on your pain. Let your silence reflect the strength you've built. And most of all, never forget who you are becoming in the process. Your story doesn't end in silence. It begins in healing. And the next chapter, that's where the real transformation starts. If this video spoke to something deep inside you, if it reminded you of your strength, your journey, your worth, then hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below with your affirmation. Let the world know, I choose peace over pain. I choose healing over hostility. I choose me. This isn't the end. It's the rise. Stay with me. The best is yet to come. Regret is the ghost that never stops whispering, but only when it's too late. They'll never text you and say, I regret losing you. Oh no, my friends, regret is never that honest. It hides, it lurks, it disguises itself behind forced smiles, fake happiness, and silent suffering. They might pretend they're thriving, but deep down, they're haunted by the one mistake they can never undo: you. And here's the truth, regret doesn't show up when you're broken. It shows up when you start glowing. They thought you'd never rise, never heal, never become someone they can't reach. But now you're the one thing their ego can't handle, a blessing they can't have back. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe, because what I'm about to tell you will change the way you see their silence forever. Stay with me. Hey folks, imagine this. You're walking through a museum, looking at priceless art. You see a painting so rare, so beautiful, but you don't recognize its worth. You shrug, walk past it, and move on to something else. Then, years later, you hear about this painting again. But now, the world knows it's a masterpiece. The price has skyrocketed, and it's locked away in a private collection. Suddenly, you want it. Suddenly, you realize what you lost. But it's too late. That's exactly how regret works. When they left, they thought they could replace you. They thought they could find someone better, someone easier. But now, they're realizing you were the masterpiece they overlooked. See, when someone truly moves on, they don't stalk. They don't post cryptic messages. They don't accidentally show up at places you go. They don't need to prove anything because they're actually happy. But when someone regrets losing you, oh, their actions will betray them. Their pride might keep them silent, but their behavior will expose the truth. And trust me, my friends, regret is a slow poison. It doesn't hit them all at once. At first, they feel powerful. They think walking away was their best move. They laugh, they party, they act like life is better without you. But that's just the illusion of freedom, because soon enough, reality catches up. They'll see you shining, leveling up, smiling without them. And that's when it hits. That's when the late-night stalking begins, when the old pictures resurface in their phone, when their new happiness starts to feel empty. And the worst part, they'll never admit it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." And that's exactly what you're doing. You're not begging, you're not chasing, you're not falling into their traps. You're rising in silence. And that, my friends, is the one thing they never expected. Because here's the real secret. Your silence is not weakness, it's power. Every second you stay silent, you remind them that they lost something irreplaceable. Every time they check your profile and see you unbothered, they feel a pain they can't even explain. And the more time passes, the more they realize they'll never find another you. So stay strong, stay focused. Let them sit in their regret while you build the life they thought you could never have without them. Their silence isn't strength, it's suffering in disguise. Now, I want you to drop this in the comments. They lost me, and they'll never find me twice. Let them regret, let them watch, but never let them reach you again. And if this message hit deep, press that like button, hit subscribe, and stay with me, because we're about to break down the undeniable signs that their regret is eating them alive. Let's get into it. 1. They thought you'd wait forever. The tragedy of life is not that it ends too soon, but that we wait too long to start living. They thought you'd always be there. They thought no matter how they treated you, no matter how many times they ignored you, pushed you away, or chose someone else, you would still be waiting, right where they left you. But here's the truth, my friends. People only believe you'll always wait when they think you don't know your worth. And that's exactly what they bet on. They walked away like your love was a revolving door, something they could step out of whenever they wanted, knowing they could always come back. Imagine a bird that's been caged for years. It loves its owner, it trusts them, it sings for them, brings them joy. But the owner? They take it for granted. They leave the cage door open thinking it won't fly away. It's too comfortable here. But one day, that bird stops waiting. One day, it spreads its wings, feels the wind, and realizes it was never meant to live in a cage. Now the owner panics. Wait, you're not supposed to leave. They reach for the bird, call its name, shake the empty cage. But it's too late. That bird has already tasted freedom, and it will never return. That's you. You were once the one who stayed, who forgave, who gave them chance after chance, and they took those chances like they were infinite. Because in their mind, you weren't supposed to change. You weren't supposed to realize you deserved better. But now your silence is louder than any words you could ever say, and they don't know what to do with it. What if I never hear from them again? What if I walk away and they don't even care? What if I was just another option, not something they truly regret losing? That fear, that doubt, is exactly what keeps people stuck in the cycle of waiting. Because deep down, you want to believe they'll wake up one day and see your worth. You want to believe they'll realize what they lost before it's too late. But here's what no one tells you. People don't realize your worth when you stay. They realize it when you're gone. And that's what's happening now. At first, they felt powerful. They thought walking away meant they won. They thought their silence meant control. But the truth? Their silence was their biggest mistake. Because now, it's no longer hurting you. It's only haunting them. Seneca once said, "While we wait for life, life passes." And my friends, that's exactly what they thought you'd do. Wait. But you stopped waiting. You stopped crying over closed doors. You stopped looking at your phone hoping for a message that never came. And that is what's breaking them. Because every picture you post, every day you don't text, every time you laugh without them, it shatters the illusion they built in their mind. The illusion that said you would never move on. They see you now. They see you rising. They see you living. And for the first time, they feel what you once felt. Helpless, powerless, replaceable. And that's why it hurts. That's why they stalk you in silence. That's why they hesitate before hitting follow again, because in their mind, they already lost the battle the moment you stopped fighting for them. But let me tell you something even more powerful. This is just the beginning. They haven't even felt the full weight of their regret yet. That's coming. That's building. And when it finally hits, it will break them in ways they never imagined. Because the hardest lesson they'll ever learn is this: you don't lose someone like you and find them twice. Now, I want you to show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you. Drop this in the comments. I'm not waiting. I'm rising. Let them sit in their silence. Let them wonder. Let them regret. Because up next, I'm going to show you the undeniable proof that their regret is growing by the day, even if they'll never say it out loud. Stay with me. 2. They stalk you in silence. What haunts us is not the words left unsaid, but the things we thought we'd never lose. They'll never text you and admit they regret walking away, but they can't stop watching. Their silence isn't strength. It's a cover-up, a fragile mask for the storm raging inside them. They thought they were in control when they left, thought they had the upper hand. But now, as the days turn into weeks and the weeks into months, something inside them is shifting. They feel it every time they check their phone, every time they open social media, every time they wonder what you're doing without them. They didn't expect this. They didn't expect you to actually move on. Regret doesn't hit all at once. It seeps in, slow and steady, like water dripping into the cracks of a foundation, until one day, everything collapses. At first, they tell themselves they don't care. They go out, laugh too loud, post pictures with people they barely know, trying to convince the world and themselves that life is better without you. But late at night, when the world goes quiet and there's no audience to perform for, that's when reality creeps in. That's when they open their phone, type your name into the search bar, and scroll. They don't like your posts, don't leave a comment, don't dare to show up in your notifications, but they're there, watching, wondering, regretting. They'll never admit it, but every picture you post feels like a punch to the gut. They stare at your smile, your glow, the way you look unbothered, and it eats them alive. Because in their mind, you weren't supposed to be okay. You weren't supposed to thrive without them. They thought your happiness depended on their presence, that your world would crumble the moment they walked away. But now they're realizing the truth. They were never your source of happiness, and that realization is tearing them apart. They check your profile, but never from their main account. Oh no, that would be too obvious. Instead, they lurk from a fake page, or they ask mutual friends for updates, dropping your name casually as if it doesn't matter, as if they're just curious. They act indifferent, but their actions scream the opposite. Because people who have moved on don't check your every move. People who don't care don't need to know what you're doing. But they do. They need to know if you're missing them, if you're hurting, if they still have a place in your heart. But what's driving them mad is the answer they never expected. You don't. They tell themselves they're just checking in, that it's harmless curiosity. But the truth, they're addicted to the version of you they thought would always be there. Addicted to the idea that maybe, just maybe, they could still come back if they wanted to. But every time they see you thriving, every time they realize you're not looking back, their regret gets louder. Seneca once said, "While we are postponing, life speeds by." And that's exactly what's happening here. While they sit in silence, debating whether to reach out, life is moving forward without them, and they hate it. Their silence is a prison of their own making. They want to reach out. but their pride won't let them. They want to say something, anything, but they don't know how to undo what's already been done. And so they suffer in the only way their ego allows, in the shadows, watching, pretending, regretting. They think staying silent gives them control, but in reality, it's proving how powerless they've become. Because the moment someone has to stalk your life, instead of being a part of it, they've already lost. And you? You're proving something they never thought possible. You don't need them. Your life didn't end when they walked away. If anything, you've become more without them. And now, every time they check your profile, they're forced to confront the truth they tried to escape. You were the best thing that ever happened to them, and they let you go. Let them stalk, let them wonder, let them regret. Because their silence speaks louder than any apology ever could. And while they're stuck in the past, you're moving toward a future that no longer includes them. Now, I want you to prove it. To them, to yourself, to the world around you. Drop this in the comments. My silence speaks louder than their words. Let them feel it. Let them sit with it. And stay with me, because up next, we're diving even deeper into the ways their regret is growing stronger by the day, even if they'll never say it out loud. 3. They post fake happiness. The saddest smiles are the ones meant to prove something. They'll never text you and say, "I regret losing you." They'll never call and admit they made a mistake. But what they will do is try to convince the world and themselves that they're happier without you. And how do they do that? By putting on a performance. By posting their new exciting life all over social media, smiling through the pain, faking a glow that doesn't exist. But if you look closely, my friends, you'll see the cracks in their mask. Because true happiness doesn't need validation. And if they were really over you, they wouldn't need to prove it. At first, they think they're winning. They go out more, party harder, surround themselves with distractions. They post pictures with people they barely know, fake laughter in videos, and suddenly become so active online. But why? If they were truly happy, they wouldn't feel the need to document it. They wouldn't need an audience. They wouldn't need you to see it. Because real happiness is silent. It's effortless. But their happiness is forced, manufactured, a desperate attempt to convince themselves that they don't miss you. Imagine an actor on stage, playing a role, the bright lights, the big smile, the carefully scripted lines. The audience sees confidence, charm, energy, but the moment the curtains close and the stage goes dark, that actor walks home alone, exhausted, drained, and empty. That's them. The moment they put their phone down, the moment the fake smile fades, they're left with nothing but the weight of their own regret. And no matter how hard they try to drown it out, regret has a way of creeping back in the quiet moments, the moments when there's no one left to impress. They'll post pictures with someone new, hoping it makes you jealous. They'll share cryptic captions about outgrowing the past, trying to convince themselves that leaving you was a good decision. But deep down, they know it's all for show. Because if they were really over it, they wouldn't need to send signals. They wouldn't need to perform. Psychology says people who move on rarely feel the need to announce it. The ones who haven't, they make sure you see every move they make. You might find yourself wondering, what if they really are happier? What if they really don't miss me? That fear, my friends, is exactly why they do this. They want to plant doubt in your mind. They want you to second-guess your decision to walk away. They want you to think, maybe they never cared at all. But here's the truth. People don't fake happiness unless they have something to hide. People who are truly happy don't need validation. They don't need to prove anything. And most importantly, they don't spend their time trying to make sure you see it. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly what's happening here. They're trying to create an illusion, trying to rewrite the story so they don't have to face the truth. But illusions fade. Reality, however, is unforgiving, and eventually they'll have to sit with it. Because one day, the distractions won't be enough. The parties will feel empty. The new people won't be replacements. They'll just be reminders of what they lost. And when that day comes, all the likes, the comments, the fake smiles, they won't mean a damn thing, because happiness isn't found in a post, a caption, or a rebound. It's found in peace. And peace? Peace is the one thing they don't have. And you? You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to watch their stories, overanalyze their posts, or wonder if they're really happy, because their actions tell you everything you need to know. If someone has to put on a show, it's because the truth isn't good enough. So let them post, let them pretend, let them convince themselves they made the right choice. Because while they're busy performing, you're actually healing. You're actually growing. And one day, when the act is over and the regret finally hits, they'll realize they weren't proving anything to you. They were just lying to themselves. Now, I want you to prove it, to them, to yourself, to the world around you. Drop this in the comments. I don't need to prove my happiness. I live it. Let them see it. Let them feel it. And stay with me, because up next, we're exposing the undeniable signs that their regret is growing stronger by the day, even if they'll never admit it. 4. They post indirect messages and songs. The loudest cries for help are the ones disguised as silence. They'll never say, "I miss you." They'll never admit, "I regret losing you." Their pride won't allow it. But that doesn't mean they're not feeling it. Oh, they're feeling it, and it's eating them alive. And because they can't bring themselves to say it outright, they do the next best thing. They leave breadcrumbs. They post cryptic messages, sad lyrics, old songs, hoping you'll get the hint, hoping you'll read between the lines, hoping you'll be the one to break the silence so they don't have to. At first, you might not even notice it. A random quote about losing something you didn't appreciate until it was gone. A song you both used to listen to. A caption about regrets or timing. But then it happens again and again, and suddenly you start wondering, is this about me? That's exactly what they want. They want to plant a seed of doubt, make you question whether they've truly moved on, or if they're secretly suffering in silence. And the answer? They are suffering. Because people who are genuinely happy don't leave clues. They don't need to send signals. They don't need to make sure you're still watching. Imagine a person stranded in the middle of the ocean. No phone, no way to call for help. All they have are pieces of driftwood floating around them. So what do? They start throwing them, one by one, hoping someone, somewhere, will see the ripples in the water, hoping someone will notice. That's exactly what these indirect posts are, desperate signals, silent distress calls, because they want you to see, but they don't want to be the one to reach out first. And you might find yourself tempted to reply, tempted to send a message, tempted to ask, is this about me? That's exactly what they're hoping for, because the moment you engage, they win. The moment you ask, are you okay? They get to shift the power back in their favor. They get to pretend, oh no, that wasn't about you, even though you both know it was. Because now they know you're still paying attention. But let me tell you something. You owe them nothing. You owe them no reaction, no acknowledgement, no validation of their regret. Because the truth is, they had their chance to talk to you directly. They had their chance to love you, to appreciate you, to fight for you. And instead of doing that, they walked away. Now, they're throwing signals into the void, hoping you'll be the one to break first. Seneca once said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." And that applies here, because their ego is waiting for you to slip. They're hoping the silence becomes too much for you to handle. But what they don't realize is that you're not waiting anymore. You're not playing their game. You see the clues, you recognize the patterns, but instead of chasing them, you let them drown in their own unspoken regret. And here's the harsh reality. They won't stop. They'll keep posting. They'll keep hoping. They'll keep trying to trigger you, to make you feel something, to make you believe they've changed. But here's what you need to remember. If they truly regretted losing you, they wouldn't be posting cryptic messages. They would be standing in front of you saying, "I was wrong." But they won't, because regret doesn't always come with courage. Sometimes it just lingers in the background, forever unspoken. And you don't have time for hidden messages. You don't have time to decode someone's pride. Because while they're still trying to get your attention, you're moving forward. You're healing. You're growing. You're proving that their absence didn't destroy you. It set you free. So let them post. Let them send signals into the void. Let them wonder if you saw it, if you noticed, if you still care. Because the greatest power you hold is this. They will never know. Now I want you to prove it, to them, to yourself, to the world around you. Drop this in the comments. I don't chase signals, I follow my peace. Let them feel it. Let them sit with it. And stay with me, because up next, we're breaking down the next level of their silent regret, the ways they try to place themselves in your path, hoping you'll notice. But you're already 10 steps ahead. 5. They unfollow, refollow, or block and unblock you. Silence isn't always peace. Sometimes it's the sound of someone losing control. They'll never text you and say, "I made a mistake." They'll never admit, "I regret losing you." But their actions will scream what their pride won't let them say. And one of the biggest signs, the way they play the disappearing and reappearing game on social media. They unfollow you, then refollow you. They block you, then unblock you. At first, it might seem random, maybe an accident, maybe a glitch. But let's be real, my friends. Nothing is accidental when regret is involved. They're testing you, trying to trigger a reaction, hoping you'll notice, hoping you'll wonder, hoping you'll break the silence first. Because in their mind, if you still care, you'll do something about it. You'll send a message, you'll check their profile, you'll ask mutual friends, "Did they block me?" But here's what they don't understand. You're not playing that game anymore. Imagine a child throwing a toy across the room just to see if someone will pick it up. They don't actually want the toy gone. They just want to know they still have control. That's exactly what's happening here. They block you not because they want you out of their life, but because they want to see if you'll chase them. And when you don't, panic. That's when the refollow comes. That's when the unblock happens. Because now they're wondering, wait, why aren't they reacting? Why aren't they doing what I expected? The truth is, when someone truly moves on, they don't need to make dramatic exits or grand re-entries. They don't need to play mind games. But when regret starts creeping in, they become desperate for a sense of control. And what's the easiest way to regain control? Mess with your emotions. They'll block you, hoping it makes you feel rejected. They'll unblock you, hoping you'll check their profile. They'll unfollow, then refollow, waiting to see if you'll do the same. It's a pathetic attempt to feel like they still have power over you. But what's actually happening? They're proving that they don't. Because every time they make a move, every time they try to manipulate the situation, they're exposing the one thing they don't want you to know. You're still on their mind. And this is where a lot of people fall into the trap. They see the unfollow and feel hurt. They see the refollow and feel hope. They see the unblock and think, maybe they're ready to talk. But here's what you need to understand. If they truly wanted to talk, they wouldn't be playing games. They wouldn't be lurking in the background, throwing breadcrumbs, waiting for you to react. They would step forward like an adult and say, I miss you, I was wrong. But they won't do that. Because their ego won't allow it. Because admitting they regret losing you means admitting they were wrong about you. And that's a truth they're not ready to face. So instead, they play these games, hoping to manipulate your emotions without ever having to risk their pride. Seneca once said, "He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary." And that's exactly what's happening to them. They're suffering in advance, suffering over the thought that maybe, just maybe, they lost you for good. And instead of just facing it, they're scrambling, trying to regain even the smallest sense of power. But here's the best part. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to react. You don't have to message. You don't have to give them even a second of your energy. Because the moment you don't respond, the moment you don't play along, that's when their regret truly sets in. That's when they realize you're not coming back. Let them unfollow. Let them refollow. Let them block, unblock, block again. Because with every desperate move, they're not showing strength. They're showing weakness. They're showing that while you're out there living, they're still stuck in the past, trying to figure out how to make you notice them again. And you? You're proving something even more powerful. You don't notice games. You notice peace. And that's something they'll never be able to fake. Now I want you to prove it, to them, to yourself, to the world around you. Drop this in the comments. I don't chase confusion. I choose clarity. Let them see it. Let them feel it. And stay with me, because up next, we're diving into the next undeniable sign of their regret. The way they start showing up in places you never expected. But by then, you'll already be too far ahead. 6. They try to accidentally cross paths with you. Coincidences don't exist when regret is involved. They'll never text you and admit they miss you. They'll never call and say, I made a mistake. But what they will do is put themselves right in your path, hoping you notice them without them having to say a word. Suddenly, they're at your favorite coffee shop. Suddenly, they're showing up at the gym you've always gone to. Suddenly, they're at that mutual friend's party, acting like it's just a coincidence. But you and I both know the truth. This isn't chance. This is strategy. They didn't just wake up one day and decide to change their entire routine. They didn't just suddenly develop a craving for the cafe they ignored when you used to invite them. They didn't magically start going to the same bookstore, gym, or bar where they know they might run into you. They're putting themselves in your world because they can't stand being out of it. They don't have the courage to text, so they do the next best thing. Make you see them, make you feel their presence, make you wonder. And for a moment, it might work. You might see them. Your heart might skip a beat. Your mind might whisper, was this really an accident? That's exactly what they want. They want to plant doubt in your mind. They want you to start overthinking, to start believing that maybe the universe is pulling you back together. But here's what you need to remember. The universe isn't doing this. Their regret is. Imagine someone throwing pebbles at a window, hoping the person inside will look up. They don't want to knock on the door because that would require vulnerability. That would require admitting they're outside in the cold, looking in. So instead, they settle for small, indirect ways of getting attention, hoping you'll be the one to open the door first. That's exactly what this is. Every accidental run-in, every random appearance in your space is nothing more than a silent knock. a desperate attempt to be noticed without having to admit they're desperate. But here's the truth, my friends. If they really wanted to come back, they wouldn't be lingering in the background, hoping you'd make the first move. They wouldn't be circling your world like a lost planet, hoping for gravity to pull them back in. They would step up, they would say the words, they would face the silence they created and take responsibility for it. But they don't, because their pride still has them shackled. Seneca once said, "Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant." And that's what's happening here. They want to be led back to you, but they don't have the courage to take the first step. So instead, they try to manipulate fate. They try to engineer moments, hoping you'll be the one to say something first. They want to be saved from their own regret, without ever having to admit they regret anything at all. And this is where most people make a mistake. They see their ex suddenly showing up everywhere and think, maybe this means something, maybe this is a sign. But it's not a sign from the universe. It's a sign of their fear. Fear that you've moved on. Fear that you're slipping further and further away. Fear that you don't even think about them anymore. And that fear is the very thing keeping them stuck. Because you're not stuck. You're not waiting. You're not looking for coincidences to validate your worth. You already know your worth. And that's why you don't fall for these games. That's why when they show up, trying to act casual, trying to act like seeing you was just fate, you smile, you walk away, and you remind them, you are no longer the person they once knew. They thought you'd always run to them. Now they're the ones chasing ghosts. They thought you'd always be available. Now they're the ones lingering in the background, hoping for breadcrumbs. And the saddest part? They'll never admit it. They'll keep pretending, keep manufacturing moments, keep hoping for a reaction. But you don't need to play along. Let them be haunted by your absence. Let them wonder if you even noticed them at all. Let them drown in the realization that they are now just a stranger in a world they once belonged to. Now I want you to prove it, to them, to yourself, to the world around you. Drop this in the comments. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in moving forward. Let them feel it. Let them sit with it. And stay with me, because up next, we're exposing the final, undeniable sign that their regret is eating them alive, even if they'll never say it out loud. 7. Mutual friends start mentioning them. When people can't reach you, they send others in their place. They'll never text you and admit, "I miss you." They'll never say, "I regret losing you." But you know what they will do. They'll find a way to make sure their name ends up in your ears, one way or another. And how do they do that? Mutual friends. Out of nowhere, people you haven't heard from in weeks, or maybe even months, start bringing them up in conversation. "Oh, I saw them the other day, they asked how you were." Or maybe it's even more subtle, like, "You know, they've been acting different lately. I think they're not as happy as they seem." And suddenly, their name is back in your world, their presence is creeping back into your mind, and whether you like it or not, you start wondering, are they regretting it? Do they miss me? That's exactly what they want. See, if they truly moved on, if they were really at peace with losing you, they wouldn't need updates. They wouldn't need to ask around, wouldn't need to check up on you through second-hand sources. But here's the thing about regret. It doesn't like to suffer in silence. It needs information. It needs proof. It needs to know if you've truly moved on or if there's still a chance, no matter how small. And because they're too proud, too afraid, too stubborn to ask you directly, they send out signals in the only way they can, through the people who still exist in both your worlds. Imagine a soldier sending a scout into enemy territory. They don't want to risk stepping onto the battlefield themselves, so instead, they send someone else to gather information, That's exactly what's happening here. They're not ready to face the reality of your silence, but they need to know if you're still thinking about them, if you still care, if they still have a place in your mind. And this is where most people fall into the trap. They hear their name, they hear they've been asking about you, and they start thinking, maybe this is my chance. Maybe I should reach out. But let me stop you right there, because if they truly wanted to reach out, they would. If they truly regretted it, they wouldn't be sending scouts. They'd be standing in front of you, owning up to their mistakes. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." And that's what they're doing. Wasting time, wasting energy, playing games instead of being honest, hoping you'll take the bait instead of just saying the words they're too afraid to say. But let's be real. This isn't about them checking in on you. This isn't about concern, and it sure as hell isn't about closure. This is about control. Because if they know you're still thinking about them, if they know their name still holds weight in your world, they don't have to face the full weight of their regret. They can convince themselves that maybe, just maybe, they still matter. But you don't play those games anymore. You don't waste your time decoding second-hand messages, trying to read between the lines of what a friend says, because your life isn't a puzzle for them to solve. So let them ask. Let them wonder. Let them send out their little messengers, hoping to get a reaction. And when the mutual friends come to you with, "Hey, they've been asking about you," just smile and say, "That's funny. I haven't thought about them at all." Because that will send a message louder than anything they've tried to orchestrate. That will make them realize their regret is theirs to carry, not yours to acknowledge. They thought they could keep you as an option, thought they could leave and still have access to your energy. But now they're learning the hardest lesson of all. You don't lose someone like you and get another chance. Now I want you to prove it. To them, to yourself, to the world around you. Drop this in the comments. If they have to ask about me, they've already lost me. Let them feel it. Let them sit with it. And stay with me. Because up next, we're diving into the final, most painful sign of their regret. The moment they realize they will suffer in silence forever. And by then, you'll already be too far ahead to even notice. Sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is to simply disappear from someone's life. Hey folks, imagine this. You're standing in a room, and there's a table full of things you've grown so used to. People, objects, memories. You think it'll always be there. You assume it's a part of your world that will never change. But then, one by one, everything vanishes. Just like that, no explanation, no warning, no reason at all. What's left? The emptiness, the silence. It's not just the absence of things, it's the presence of regret that fills the space. A regret so deep that it lingers and haunts. That's exactly how it feels when you make someone feel erased from your life. You don't need to shout. You don't need to make a scene. No, my friends, you simply vanish. Imagine erasing yourself from their world so completely that when they look for you, all they see is nothing. No trace of your existence, no reminders. And that, my friends, is when the regret begins. Not when they lose you, but when they realize they can't have you back. That's when they'll come running, when they start searching for something that's gone. And here's the truth. They never knew what they had until it was gone. You see, people don't fear losing what they think they can always get back. They don't fear losing something that's within reach. What they truly fear is the disappearance of something that was once theirs, but is now completely out of sight, out of reach, gone. It's like that feeling when you lose a favorite item and search frantically for it, only to realize it's disappeared without a trace. That feeling sticks with you, doesn't it? It doesn't go away easily. That's exactly how it'll feel for them when you erase yourself. It will haunt them. Now, you might be thinking, what's the point of all this? Why would I let them come running back? Here's the thing. It's not about revenge. It's about taking your power back. You're not some option to be picked up when convenient. You are not a backup plan. You are the real deal. And the moment they realize that, they'll be kicking themselves. They'll look back and wish they hadn't taken you for granted. They'll wish they hadn't thought they could walk away and still have you waiting for them, lingering like a shadow. But here's the twist, folks. You're not waiting anymore. You've disappeared. And that silence, that absence, is so loud that it will echo in their minds long after you're gone. And trust me, the best part? They won't even realize what's happening until it's too late. The moment they start to wonder why you're not there, why you're not calling, why you're not waiting around, that's when the panic sets in. They'll start to question themselves, wondering, did I make a mistake? Could I have done things differently? But by then, you will have already moved on. You will be so far ahead in your life that they can't touch you, can't reach you. You won't just be physically gone, you'll be mentally, emotionally, and spiritually untouchable. The power isn't in begging for their attention, in trying to prove that you matter. No, my friends, the true power lies in realizing that you don't need them to feel whole. You're already whole, already strong, already moving forward. And while they search for you, try to find pieces of you in others. You will be stepping into your best self, thriving, living your life with no looking back. So here's the deal. Take your power back. No more waiting, no more hoping. Let them feel the absence. Let them feel the loss. Let them search for something that no one else can replace. When they finally come running back, it will be you who holds the power to decide whether or not they ever get close again. Now, I want you to say this out loud and write it in the comments below. I erased them, now they chase. Let that be a reminder that your worth is not up for debate. Press that like button, subscribe, and stick with me, because the best part of this journey is just beginning. Let's rise together. 1. The Vanishing Act. Becoming a ghost. They can't escape. People don't chase what they think they can still have. They chase what they believe is gone forever. Imagine walking into a room that was once filled with warmth, light, and laughter, only to find it completely empty. No signs of life, no remnants of what once was, just silence. At first, you stand there, confused. You tell yourself, maybe they're coming back. Maybe they're just hiding. But as time stretches on, the realization sets in. It's over. The door is shut, the warmth is gone, and what was once a familiar presence has disappeared without a trace. That's exactly what happens when you erase yourself from someone's life. They might not notice it at first. They might even think they're better off. But one day, they will walk back into the space where you once existed, expecting to find you still there. And when they don't, that's when the fear will set in. Right now, you might be questioning it. But what if they don't care? What if they never notice? That's the lie your fear tells you. The truth? The mind obsesses over what it can't have. It replays memories. It searches for familiarity. It clings to things that slip through its fingers. You don't need to remind them of your worth. You don't need to prove anything. The absence will do that for you. People fear losing what they never imagined they'd have to live without. They assume you'll always be there, tucked away in the background, waiting for their return. They believe they have all the time in the world to figure things out, to explore other options, to decide when they are ready. But what they don't see coming is the moment they turn around and you're gone. Let's be real. This isn't easy. The hardest part isn't making them feel erased. It's letting yourself disappear from their world while still standing strong in your own. It's resisting the urge to check if they've noticed, to see if they're missing you, to hope that they'll reach out. Because that's where most people fail. They leave the door cracked open. They wait, even when they say they won't. They check their phone. They watch from a distance. They hope for a sign. But you, my friend, you're different. You are not an option, not a backup plan, not a placeholder in someone's life. So why does it feel so difficult? Because you've been conditioned to think that love means waiting, that if you care, you should fight, that if they matter, you should make sure they know. But let's break that lie today. Real love does not require convincing. It does not require proving your worth to someone who couldn't see it in the first place. Love should be mutual, effortless, undeniable. And when it isn't, you walk away, not to punish them, not to manipulate them, but because you deserve to be where you are valued without question. Think about it like this. Have you ever lost something, convinced it would turn up eventually, only to realize it was gone for good? At first, you brushed it off. It's probably around here somewhere. But then, days pass, weeks, and suddenly you can't stop thinking about it. Where did it go? How did I not notice it disappearing? You tear apart your room, you retrace your steps, you check all the usual places, but nothing. And that's when it hits you. You lost it, and you're never getting it back. That's the feeling you're about to leave them with. You don't need to chase. You don't need to beg. You don't need to prove anything. You need to disappear so fully that when they finally realize what they lost, they are left with nothing but regret. They will search for pieces of you in others, but those pieces won't fit. They will try to distract themselves, but their mind will betray them. And the most painful part, the moment they finally turn back to find you, they will see nothing but empty space. No messages, no open doors, no trace of you. Just a silence so loud it drowns out every excuse they once told themselves, expecting the usual noise, the chatter, the laughter, the familiar voices. But instead, there's nothing, just silence. A silence so unnatural, so unexpected, that it makes your heart beat louder, your breath heavier. You feel the weight of the emptiness pressing down, and suddenly, the absence is deafening. That's the kind of silence that shakes a person to their core. That's the kind of silence you're about to leave them with. People don't fear words. Words can be argued with, ignored, dismissed. But silence is relentless. Silence forces a person to listen to the thoughts they've been running from. It fills the empty spaces where distraction used to be. And when you erase yourself from someone's life, when you stop explaining, stop responding, stop giving them access to your energy, that's when the panic sets in. Right now, they think they have you figured out. They assume you're lingering, waiting for a moment of weakness, for an opening to reach out. They expect to hear from you eventually. They expect a message, a sign, something. But the moment they realize there's nothing, That's when they'll start to unravel. At first, they might brush it off. They'll reach out soon enough. But as time stretches on and your silence remains unbroken, the thoughts will start creeping in. Why haven't they called? Why haven't they checked in? And then the real fear will take hold. Did I lose them for good? See, silence is a mirror. It forces people to sit with their own choices, their own mistakes. And while they might pretend they don't care, while they might act like they've moved on, that silence will haunt them in ways they never expected. They might scroll through old messages, hovering over your name, fingers itching to type something, anything, just to see if you'll break first. They might go through pictures, replaying memories in their head, convincing themselves they made the right choice. But here's the catch. The subconscious doesn't lie. And no matter how much they distract themselves, the silence you've left behind will keep reminding them of what they lost. And you don't need to say a single word. You don't need to explain yourself, to prove your worth, to justify why you walked away. Because when you go silent, when you remove yourself completely, they are left alone with the only voice that truly matters, their own regrets. Let's be honest, this isn't easy. We've been taught that silence means weakness, that if we don't fight, don't explain, don't prove ourselves, then we've lost. But that's a lie. True strength is knowing when to say nothing at all. True power is in the ability to walk away without looking back. Think about it like this. Have you ever turned off your phone, disconnected from everything, and suddenly realized how much noise fills your life every day? The constant buzzing, the distractions, the endless stream of messages. But the moment you step away from it, the silence feels overwhelming. That's what's happening to them. They didn't notice your presence when it was constant. But now that it's gone, now that they have no way to reach you, no way to pull you back into their orbit, the silence is all they can hear, and it's driving them crazy. They expected anger, they expected confrontation, they expected some dramatic ending where they still got to feel like the center of your world. But what they never prepared for was the quiet, the coldness, the absolute erasure of their existence from your life. And now they are questioning everything. It will start with curiosity. Are they okay? Are they thinking about me? Then it turns into frustration. Why aren't they reaching out? And finally, it becomes regret. Did I just lose something I can never get back? That's when they will try a subtle message, a casual check-in, maybe even a desperate attempt to act like they never left. But by then, it's too late. Because you've already moved beyond them. You've found your peace in the silence. You've discovered that you don't need them to feel whole. And that, my friends, is the ultimate punishment. Not anger, not words, but the realization that they no longer hold a place in your life. Now, I want you to write this in the comments below. My silence is their loudest regret. Let this be your declaration, to yourself, to the world, to anyone who ever thought they could take you for granted. Like this video, subscribe, and stay with me, because we're only getting started. And trust me, what's coming next? It's even more powerful. 3. The locked door. Access denied. Entry forbidden. People don't value what they can always reach. They value what they can never touch again. Imagine this. You walk up to a door you've opened 1,000 times before. You grab the handle, expecting it to turn effortlessly, just like always. But this time, it doesn't budge. You jiggle it, push harder, maybe even knock, but nothing. The door is locked. You step back, confused. Wait, this door has never been locked before. You check again, still locked. And that's when the panic starts to creep in. That's exactly what happens when you cut off access to someone who thought they had unlimited entry into your life. They assumed you'd always be there, just a call away, just a message away. They thought they could leave, take their time, explore their options, and then walk back whenever they pleased. Because in their mind, you were always going to be an option. But now that door is closed, and they never saw it coming. Right now, you might be thinking, but what if they don't care? What if they never try to come back? That's just fear talking. The truth? People don't value what they believe is always available. They value what they can't have. They don't crave what they assume will always be there. They crave what disappears without a trace. At first, they'll brush it off. Maybe they're just busy. Maybe they're playing a game. But as time stretches on and they realize that, no, you're really gone, that's when the doubt starts creeping in. Did I mess up? Did I miscalculate? They'll start testing the waters. A "hey, hope you're good" message. A random reaction to your post. A pathetic attempt at small talk. Anything to see if they still hold a place in your life. And when they realize they don't, that's when the real panic sets in. People don't like to admit it, but losing access is the real heartbreak. It's not losing someone that hurts the most. It's realizing you can never go back. That door they assumed would always be open. It's sealed shut now. No warnings, no second chances, just silence and a locked entrance they will never be able to walk through again. You see, they thought they had time. They thought they were in control. They believed they could return whenever it was convenient for them. But what they never considered was that you had the power to end their access entirely. And now, they are standing outside that door, staring at the reality they never prepared for. You are gone, and they can't do a damn thing about it. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. It's hard to be the one who locks the door. It's hard to remove someone who once meant the world to you. And for a moment, you might feel guilty. You might wonder if you're being too harsh, too cold, too unforgiving. But let me tell you something. You are not a doormat. You are not a revolving door. You don't owe anyone unlimited chances to disrespect you, to leave and return at their convenience, to treat you like an option while they search for something better. Think about it like this. Have you ever seen a child throw aside their favorite toy, convinced they'll find something newer, shinier, better, and then, one day, they go back to grab it, only to realize it's gone? Someone else has taken it, or worse, it's just disappeared. And suddenly, that toy isn't just a toy anymore. It's the one thing they can't have, and that makes them want it more than anything. That's exactly what's happening to them. They didn't appreciate you when they had you. They treated you like something replaceable, something they could come back to whenever they wanted. But now that you've removed yourself, now they see your value. And trust me, that realization will break them. But here's the thing. By the time they realize what they've lost, it won't even matter. Because you've moved on. You're no longer waiting, no longer hoping, no longer checking to see if they'll notice. You are focused on your own life, your own growth, expecting to see the same familiar face staring back at you. But something feels off. You look closer. The reflection isn't the same anymore. There's doubt in the eyes, regret in the posture, a hollowness that wasn't there before. You tilt your head, searching for the person you once knew, but the truth is undeniable. Something is missing. That's exactly what's happening to them right now. At first, they thought nothing of it. They walked away, convinced they had made the right decision. They told themselves they could replace you, that someone else would fill the space you once held. Maybe they even felt a sense of freedom, of control, as if they were calling the shots. But then, slowly, the cracks started forming. The distractions they once used to drown out their thoughts started losing their effect. The new faces, the empty conversations, the meaningless nights out, none of it felt right. And then one day, out of nowhere, they found themselves standing in front of that mirror, seeing the truth for the very first time. They didn't just lose you. They lost the best thing they ever had. And now they have to live with that reality. See, regret doesn't hit all at once. It creeps in, little by little, like a shadow stretching longer as the sun sets. It starts with a thought. I wonder how they're doing. Then a memory, a moment, a feeling. And before they even realize it, they're replaying everything in their head, searching for the signs they missed, the choices they could have made differently. And here's where it gets even worse for them. They can't escape it. Because you're not there anymore. There's no way to check, no way to undo what's already been done. They scroll through their phone, hovering over your name, debating whether to reach out. But something stops them. The fear of what they'll find. What if you don't respond? What if you've moved on? What if they really did lose you forever? They thought they could walk away without consequences. They thought they could let you go and feel nothing. But now, every time they look in the mirror, they see it. The emptiness where you used to be. And this is the moment the regret becomes unbearable. Right now, you might be wondering, but why do they only see it now? Why didn't they appreciate me when they had me? Because people don't recognize value until it's gone. They assume what's in front of them will always be there. They don't cherish something when they think they can always come back to it. But once you take it away, once you remove yourself so completely that they no longer exist in your world, that's when the reality of what they lost sets in. Think about it like this. Have you ever thrown away an old photo, thinking it was just another picture? And then, years later, you find yourself searching for it, desperate to relive that moment, to hold on to that memory. But it's too late. It's gone. And now, no matter how hard you try, you can't get it back. That feeling, the pit in your stomach, the ache of something you can never reclaim, that's exactly what they're feeling now. And here's what makes it even worse for them. You're not looking back. You're not giving them the chance to fix it, to rewrite the story, to slide back into your life like nothing ever happened. Because you've outburned elsewhere. And suddenly, the cold sets in. That's what's happening to them right now. They assumed you needed them. They thought your light, your warmth, your energy revolved around them. But now they're realizing you were never dependent on them. You were the source. And that truth, it's starting to burn them more than any fire ever could. At first, they ignored it. They walked away with confidence, convinced they could find another source of warmth, another fire, another place to stand where the light would feel just as bright. But what they didn't realize is that some fires are irreplaceable. Some flames don't just provide heat. They leave a mark, a memory, a presence that lingers long after they're gone. And now? Now they're feeling the cold. You see, when they left, they expected you to be the one struggling. They assumed you'd sit in the ashes, trying to reignite something that had already burned out. But instead of crumbling, instead of begging, instead of waiting, you became something untouchable, a wildfire, growing, expanding, lighting up a whole new world where they no longer exist. And that's the part they never expected. Because here's the truth. People don't regret leaving something they think will always be there. They regret leaving something that becomes better in their absence. They regret watching someone they walked away from rise higher, burn brighter, shine stronger without them. Right now, they're searching for the warmth they lost. They're looking at others, trying to find what they once had with you. But nothing feels the same. The glow is different. The heat is unfamiliar. And the more they try to replace you, the more they realize you were one of a kind. And that's when it hits them. The moments they ignored, the love they dismissed, the energy they thought they could find anywhere else. It wasn't just a relationship, a connection, a passing experience. It was a fire that changed them. And now, it's gone. Let's be real, this isn't easy. The hardest part about walking away is resisting the urge to check if they've noticed, to see if they regret it yet. But let me tell you something, they will. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But one day, when the nights are long and the distractions fade, they'll feel the cold creeping in. And they'll realize that the fire they thought they could live without was the only thing that ever truly kept them warm. Think about it like this. Have you ever stood outside on a freezing night, watching the light from inside a home, feeling the warmth you can't reach? It doesn't matter how many layers you wear, how many distractions you have, the cold seeps in. That's what they're feeling now. They left something comfortable, something real, something that can't be replaced. And now, they're standing outside, watching your fire burn from a distance, knowing they can never get close to it again. And you don't need to say a word. You don't need to prove anything. Because every time they see you, every time they hear about you, every time they remember what they lost, they will feel it. The cold, the regret, the realization that they underestimated you. But by then, it won't even matter. Because you've already moved beyond them. You're not standing in the same place they left you. You're not hoping they see your worth. You are out there, burning brighter than ever, untouched by their absence. And that is the greatest power of all. Now, I want you to write this in the comments below. I was their warmth, now I burn. Let this be your declaration, to yourself, to them, to the world. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because trust me, the most powerful part is still coming. 6. The rewrite. You were never a side character in their story. They thought they controlled the story. They thought they could write your role, decide your ending. But now they're realizing you were never just a chapter. You were the whole damn book. Imagine picking up a novel, convinced you know how it ends. You skim through the pages, half paying attention, assuming the story will always be there, waiting for you. But then, one day, you flip to where you expect the next chapter to be. And it's gone. The pages are blank. The story has moved on without you. The characters you took for granted have disappeared, and you're left holding a book you can't finish. That's exactly what's happening to them right now. They thought they had you figured out. They believed you were just another character in their story, someone who would always be there, always waiting, always an option. They assumed they could take their time, explore other storylines, and that if they ever wanted to, they could come back and pick up where they left off. But what they never expected was for you to be the one to close the book. Right now, they're flipping through the pages, looking for you, searching for signs that you're still there, still lingering, still part of the narrative they thought they controlled. But what they're finding instead? Nothing. You're gone. Your story didn't pause when they walked away. It continued without them. And that realization, it's tearing them apart. Because people don't regret losing something they thought was temporary. They regret realizing too late that they were just a passing moment in something much greater than themselves. You see, they thought they could replace you. They thought they could move on, meet someone new, start a different story, and that the past would eventually fade. But here's the truth. Some stories don't fade. Some stories leave scars. And yours? Yours is the one they can't stop rereading. At first, they tried to ignore it. They told themselves they made the right decision, that their new path was the better one. But then, the memories started creeping in. The late-night thoughts, the what-if questions, the scenes replaying in their head like an unfinished movie. And the worst part, they can't go back and change the ending. Because you've already written them out of your story. Let's be honest, this isn't easy. The hardest part about moving on is realizing that the person who once meant everything to you is now just a lesson, a memory, a part of the past that no longer defines you. But here's the truth. You don't belong in someone else's background. You are not a supporting role. You are not a placeholder in someone's temporary life. Think about it like this. Have you ever read a book so powerful, so unforgettable, that even after you've finished it, it lingers in your mind? You move on to other books, other stories, but something about that one stays with you. Certain lines, certain moments, certain emotions that no other story can replicate. That's exactly what's happening to them right now. They thought you were just another chapter. They didn't realize you were the book they would never stop thinking about. And now, it's too late. They will try to rewrite the past. They will tell themselves they didn't care, that it wasn't real, that they don't miss you. But deep down, every time they see something that reminds them of you, subscribe and stay with me. Because what's coming next? It's even more powerful. 7. The search. Trying to find you in everyone else. They thought they could replace you. They thought someone else could fill your space. But now they're realizing some voids can never be filled. Imagine searching for a song, the one that once gave you chills, the one that carried memories, the one that felt like home. You scroll through playlists, trying to find the same feeling in other melodies, but nothing quite fits. No song hits the same way. No lyrics bring the same emotion. You keep searching, but deep down, you already know. You lost something irreplaceable. That's exactly what's happening to them right now. At first, they thought moving on would be easy. They thought someone new would take your place, that a fresh distraction would erase the past. But here's the thing. You weren't just a moment in their life. You were an experience, a presence, a force. And now, no matter where they go, no matter who they meet, they're still searching for you, and they'll never admit it. They'll smile, laugh, pretend like they're fine. They'll post pictures, go out, act like their world is as steady as ever. But in the quiet moments, you are still there, in the silence before they fall asleep, in the way someone else's laugh doesn't sound as genuine, in the conversations that feel empty compared to what they had with you. Because here's the truth, people don't miss you right away. They miss you when they realize no one else compares. They thought they could replace the energy you brought into their life. But energy isn't something you can swap out like an old pair of shoes. It lingers. It attaches itself to memories, to places, to songs, to feelings. And now, every time they try to find that feeling elsewhere, they come up empty. Let's be real, this isn't easy. It's hard to walk away knowing they might try to replace you. It's painful to think that someone else could be standing where you once stood. But let me tell you something. They might try to find another you, but they will never succeed. Think about it like this. Have you ever had a home-cooked meal so good that nothing else could compare? You go to restaurants, you try similar dishes, but nothing hits the same. That's what's happening to them now. They're looking for the warmth, the comfort, the depth that only you brought into their life. And the more they try to replicate it, the more obvious it becomes. Some things cannot be replaced. And that is when the regret starts creeping in. At first, they won't want to believe it. They'll tell themselves that this new connection is better, that what they had with you was just another phase. But the truth has a way of revealing itself. One day, they will be sitting next to someone else, laughing at something meaningless, and out of nowhere, it will hit them. The realization, the emptiness, the sick feeling in their stomach when they finally accept that they walked away from something real. But by then, you will be long gone. You won't be checking for them. You won't be waiting for them to realize your worth. You will be too busy living, growing, thriving. And that will haunt them even more. Because nothing is more painful than realizing the person you lost isn't just missing you. They're better off without you. So let them search. Let them look for you in others. Let them try to replace what was never meant to be replaced. Because in the end, the only thing they will find is the emptiness they created themselves. Now, I want you to write this in the comments below. They search for me, but I am gone. Let this be your reminder, to yourself, to them, to the world. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what's coming next? It's even more powerful. And that, my friends, is the power of erasure. When they finally realize what they lost, you'll be too far ahead to care. So keep moving, keep growing, and never look back. They search, but you are gone. Like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs this reminder. The greatest trick people play is pretending they don't miss you, while secretly hoping you never find out. They act like they're happy, like life has never been better, like losing you was the best decision they ever made. But my friends, that's a lie. A well-rehearsed, ego-driven, pride-fueled performance. And here's the kicker. The ones who try the hardest to look unbothered, they're usually the ones struggling the most. Because real happiness doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need applause. It just is. But them, oh, they need you to believe their act. They need you to sit there, watching, wondering, questioning yourself. Did they really move on? Did I even matter? Trust me, folks, if they were truly at peace, They wouldn't need to prove it. Before we go any further, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what I'm about to break down will change how you see everything. Hey folks, imagine this. You're at a carnival and you see a clown. Big red nose, painted on smile, colorful outfit. From the outside, pure joy. But take away the makeup, step behind the curtain, and what do you see? A tired, drained, lonely face, exhausted from pretending all day long. That's them, the one who swore they were over you, the one flexing their best life online, the one pretending you're nothing but a memory. But let me tell you something, masks don't change reality. They just hide it. You ever notice how the loudest people in the room, the ones constantly telling everyone how great they're doing, are usually the ones barely holding it together? That's because happiness is quiet. Peace is effortless. But performance? That takes work. It takes effort to stage the perfect selfie, to write the perfect caption, to act like they don't feel anything when deep down they do. Science proves it, my friends. The brain doesn't just delete emotional bonds like a text message. It remembers. It rewires itself around deep connections. And the more they try to suppress those feelings, the stronger they come back. Ever tried to hold a beach ball underwater? The harder you push it down, the faster it shoots back up. That's exactly what's happening to them. They're pushing, suppressing, pretending, but sooner or later, it's all coming back up. And here's the funny part. They think you don't see through it. They think they've got you fooled. But let's be real, folks. If they were truly free, if they had truly moved on, they wouldn't be lurking. They wouldn't be checking in on you in silence. They wouldn't be watching your every move, waiting for a sign that you still care. Because here's the hard truth. It's not that they don't feel anything. It's that they don't want to admit they feel it. But you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to play their game. You don't need to beg for closure. Because guess what? Time is already teaching them the lesson for you. While they flex for attention, you are growing in silence. While they chase distractions, you are stepping into your power. While they fight their own emotions, you have already won. So say it with me, I do not chase. Write it in the comments. Let them see it. Let yourself feel it. Let the world know you are done playing their game. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next will make sure they never stop thinking about what they lost. 1. The science of suppressed emotions. You can run from the truth, but the truth never stops chasing you. They tell themselves they don't care, that they've moved on, that what you had is nothing but a distant memory. But my friends, the mind doesn't work that way. You don't just wake up one morning and delete an emotional bond like it never existed. That's not how human psychology operates. That's not how the heart works. They think if they act unbothered long enough, the feelings will disappear. If they drown themselves in new people, new places, new distractions, it will erase the weight of what they lost. But here's the problem. Suppression is not the same as healing. And science proves it. The more you push emotions down, the stronger they fight to resurface. Imagine this. You're at the beach, holding a beach ball in the water. You push it down with all your strength, thinking if you keep it there long enough, it'll stay hidden. But what happens? The deeper you push, the more pressure builds. And the second you let go, boom. That ball doesn't just float back up, it explodes out of the water with twice the force. That's exactly what's happening inside their mind. They think they're in control, but in reality, their emotions are building, waiting for the moment they slip. And here's where it gets even deeper. What they're ignoring isn't disappearing. It's growing, it's festering, twisting, turning into something even more painful. Because emotions don't just die out. They don't fade, because you want them to. And the harder they fight to suppress what they feel, the stronger it comes back when they least expect it. But I know what some of you are thinking. What if they really don't care? What if I was just another chapter in their book? What if I'm sitting here overthinking while they've already moved on? My friends, let me tell you something powerful. If someone truly moves on, they don't have to force it. They don't need to convince the world. They don't need distractions. They just live. But what do they do instead? They run. They perform. They drown their emotions in fake smiles, empty confidence, and temporary highs. That's not peace. That's avoidance. Ever heard of the rebound effect? No, I'm not just talking about jumping into a new relationship. I'm talking about psychological rebound. It's what happens when people try to bury their emotions instead of dealing with them. The brain doesn't just forget deep emotional bonds. It locks them away, storing them like files in the subconscious. And the moment something triggers them, a song, a place, a scent, a memory, boom. It all comes rushing back, and suddenly they're right back where they started. And here's the kicker. They fear this moment. That's why they do everything in their power to escape it. That's why they keep moving, keep distracting, keep avoiding anything that reminds them of you. Because facing their emotions means facing the truth. That they lost something valuable, that they made a mistake, that their pride won't protect them from regret. And that terrifies them. But you don't need to run. You don't need to push down your emotions, because you're not afraid of facing the truth. That's what makes you powerful. That's what sets you apart. While they exhaust themselves trying to bury the past, you are embracing it, processing it, and coming out stronger. And I won't lie to you, it's not easy. Facing emotions head-on is hard. It's uncomfortable. It forces you to sit with the pain instead of escaping it. And that's exactly why most people don't do it, because growth is painful. But stagnation, that's worse. You are not the one trapped in an endless cycle of pretending. You are not the one running from reality. You are choosing to rise, to heal, to move forward without needing anyone's approval. And that's why, in the end, you win. So say it with me. I face my truth. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are not afraid of emotions. You own them. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next is going to make sure they never stop thinking about what they lost. 2. The silence that proves everything. The loudest silence is the one that comes from someone who used to talk to you every day. They won't reach out. They won't check in. They'll act like you never existed. And you sit there wondering, do they really not care? Am I the only one feeling this? But my friends, let me tell you something. Silence is never empty. It is full of the words they are too afraid to say. They think by staying quiet, they are proving something, that they are in control, that they are winning. But let me ask you this. If they were really over it, if they truly didn't care, why do they need to prove it? Why do they need to make sure you notice their absence? Because real peace doesn't need a performance. Real peace doesn't need an audience. Imagine this. You're watching a movie, and right at the most intense moment, the screen goes black. No sound, no explanation, just nothing. Your mind scrambles, trying to make sense of what happened. That frustration, that need for closure, that urge to fill in the blanks. That's exactly what's happening to them. They may be silent on the outside, but inside, their mind is screaming. Because here's what people don't tell you. The human brain hates unfinished stories. It needs resolution. It needs answers. And when someone suddenly removes themselves, when they stop talking, when they leave a gap where they used to be, the mind doesn't just accept it. It fixates on it. It obsesses over it. And you better believe they are feeling it. At first, they'll convince themselves they don't care, that you'll come back, that you'll break the silence first, that it's only a matter of time before you need to hear their voice. But then, the days pass, the weeks pass, maybe even months, and you're nowhere to be found. That's when the panic sets in. They start wondering, wait, did I misjudge them? Are they actually moving on? Did I lose someone irreplaceable? And that's when your silence becomes louder than any words you could ever say. See, they were expecting a reaction. They were expecting you to check in, to ask how they're doing, to keep their ego fed with your attention, because that would have reassured them. That would have given them the power. But when you do nothing, when you remove yourself completely, that's when they feel it. That's when they realize they are no longer in control. Because silence forces them to think. And thinking? That's dangerous. Ever notice how people drown themselves in noise when they're running from something? They keep themselves busy, always surrounded by people, always filling their day with distractions. You think that's an accident? No, my friends. That's survival. Because when the noise dies down, when they're finally alone, when there's nothing left to distract them, that's when reality punches them in the face. And let me tell you something, they don't want to face it. Because the moment they sit with themselves, the moment they start reflecting, all the thoughts they tried to bury come flooding back. Did I mess up? Did I push away someone who actually cared? Did I think they'd always be there, only to realize too late that they're gone? This is why your silence is your power. It forces them to deal with what they don't want to face. And I know what some of you are thinking. But what if they never reach out? What if they really don't care? Let me ask you this. If someone truly didn't care, would they need to prove it? Would they need to perform? Would they need distractions to keep their mind off you? People who are genuinely at peace don't need to run from their own thoughts. They don't need to avoid silence. They don't need to control the narrative. But they can't afford silence, because every quiet moment is a reminder of what they lost. And let's be clear, this isn't about playing games. This isn't about trying to manipulate them into missing you. This is about reclaiming your power, about understanding that you don't need to explain, justify, or prove anything. Your silence is the lesson. Your absence is the closure. Your lack of response is the proof that you are no longer waiting. And trust me, that will haunt them more than anything you could ever say. So say it with me. My silence is my power. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you don't need to chase, beg, or fight for attention. You are the storm they never saw coming. press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what's coming next will make sure they never stop thinking about what they lost. 3. The illusion of social media happiness. Don't believe everything you see. Even salt looks like sugar. They post, they smile, they flood their feed with pictures, quotes, and captions dripping with fake confidence. And you sit there, staring at your screen, feeling that sharp sting in your chest. Are they really that happy? Did they really move on that fast? But my friends, let me tell you something. Social media is not reality. It's a highlight reel, a carefully curated illusion designed to tell a story that isn't real. Because here's the truth. People who are truly happy, they're too busy living to prove it. Ever seen someone post a picture-perfect selfie, looking flawless, but you know for a fact they took 50 shots to get it right? Adjusting the angle, fixing the lighting, adding the perfect filter. That's exactly what they're doing with their so-called new life. Staging happiness, editing reality, performing peace. Because if they were really over it, if they had really leveled up, if life was as good as they want you to believe, why do they need to convince the world? Imagine this. You're walking through a neighborhood at night and you see a house with all its lights on. From the outside, it looks perfect, warm, inviting, full of life. But step inside, and what do you find? Cracks in the walls, empty rooms, and silence that feels heavier than words. That's their reality. What they show the world is not what they feel inside. And yet, here you are, letting a staged picture shake your confidence, letting a fake smile make you doubt yourself, letting an illusion convince you that they're winning. But let me ask you this. If they were really so happy, why are they still watching you? Because trust me, they are. They lurk in silence. They scroll through your page when no one's looking. They keep tabs on you through mutual friends. Why? Because they need to know. They need to see if you're still affected, if you're still waiting, if their happiness is still making you question yourself. Because here's what they won't admit. If they were truly at peace, they wouldn't need to make sure you see it. Real happiness is quiet. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need to be proven. It just is. But performance? That takes work. And I know what some of you are thinking, but what if they really are happy? What if they've actually moved on? Let me tell you something powerful. People who have truly healed don't need an audience. Think about the moments in your life when you were genuinely at peace. Did you stop to take a picture? Did you pause to post about it? No. You were too busy living it. But them? They need to be seen. Because deep down, they know something's missing. And that's where the overcompensation starts. Ever notice how their posts seem to ramp up right after you stop paying attention? How suddenly they're everywhere, making sure the world sees how amazing their life is. That's not happiness. That's panic. Because here's the truth, my friends. People who are truly free don't spend their time proving it to those they left behind. They thought you'd be watching. They thought you'd be stuck, refreshing their feed, breaking yourself over every post. But the moment they sense you slipping away, that's when they turn up the volume. That's when they start broadcasting even harder. Because the idea of you moving on, that's what really scares them. And let's be real, what are they actually celebrating? Moving on so fast that they never dealt with their emotions. Jumping into something new just to fill the void. Chasing distractions just to avoid facing the truth. That's not success. That's avoidance. Because science proves it. When people suppress emotions, they don't disappear. They intensify. And no amount of likes, comments, or staged pictures is going to change that. But here's the best part. You don't need to expose them. You don't need to call them out. Because the moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop giving them attention, the illusion crumbles on its own. Because they're not actually happy. They're just hoping you believe they are. So say it with me. I see through the illusion. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done falling for their performance. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what's coming next will make sure they never stop thinking about what they lost. 4. The dopamine crash. They can't escape. You can run from reality, but reality never stops chasing you. They jump from one distraction to the next. New places, new faces, new hobbies, new obsessions. They flood their schedule, keep themselves busy, always on the move, laughing too loud, smiling too hard, acting like life has never been better. And for a second, you might start to believe it. What if they really are happier without me? What if they've replaced me? What if they've already forgotten everything we had? But my friends, let me tell you something powerful. Happiness doesn't need constant reinforcement. Peace doesn't need a performance. Because here's what's really happening. They're chasing dopamine. You ever eat a bunch of candy when you're starving? That first bite? Pure bliss. Sugar hits your bloodstream, dopamine floods your brain, and for a moment you feel amazing. But then, the crash, the rush fades, the hunger returns, and suddenly you feel worse than before. That's exactly what they're doing. It creates a cycle of addiction. They need more and more stimulation just to feel okay. And that's why they keep running. That's why they keep jumping from thing to thing, person to person, moment to moment. Because the second the noise stops, the crash begins. And I know what some of you are thinking. But what if they really are happy? What if I'm just making this up? Let me ask you this. If their happiness was real, why does it need constant maintenance? Think about it. When someone is truly at peace, they don't need to be surrounded by people 24/7. They don't need to force themselves into new relationships just to feel whole. They don't need to constantly prove that they're having the time of their life, because they just are. But them, they can't afford stillness. They can't afford silence. Because in the quiet, when the distractions fade, that's when the truth creeps in. And trust me, they feel it. That moment when the party ends and they're alone with their thoughts. That moment when they wake up in the middle of the night and realize they're not as free as they pretended to be. That moment when their new obsession starts to feel empty. That's when they start asking themselves the questions they were trying to avoid. Was this really the right choice? Did I push away something real? Am I actually happier, or am I just running from my own emotions? See, they thought losing you wouldn't matter. They thought a new distraction would erase the past. But instead, they've put themselves in a cycle of temporary highs and painful crashes. And let's be real, they're exhausted. Because no matter how many people they surround themselves with, they still feel the absence of you. No matter how many places they go, they still remember where you used to be. No matter how hard they try to convince the world they've moved on, they still feel that hole inside them that nothing seems to fill. And here's the best part. You don't even have to do anything. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to post for attention. You don't have to force them to see what they lost. Because time is already teaching them that lesson. Every distraction they chase, every fake high they run to, every moment they spend trying to prove something, they're just delaying the inevitable. Because the real question isn't if they'll feel it, it's when. So say it with me. I do not chase illusions. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done with quick highs and empty distractions. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what's coming next will make sure they never stop thinking about what they lost. 5. The pain of seeing you move on. Nothing haunts people more than watching you live the life they thought you'd struggle without. They act like they don't see you, like your success, your glow, your evolution mean nothing to them. But my friends, that's another lie. Because here's the truth, they see you, they feel it, and no matter how much they pretend otherwise, watching you move on is eating them alive. And it's not just an emotional reaction, it's science. See, the human brain is wired with something called mirror neurons. These little neurons are what make you yawn when you see someone else yawn. They're what make you feel excitement when you watch a movie character win, or sadness when you see someone cry. And guess what if I misjudged them? What if they were stronger than I thought? What if I wasn't as important to them as I believed? And my friends, that's a hit to the ego that no distraction can erase. Because people like to believe they're unforgettable. They like to believe that if they walk away, their absence will be felt forever. That no matter what happens, they'll always hold some kind of power over you. But when they see you truly them, because the worst kind of regret isn't missing someone you lost. It's realizing that someone you once had is now too far gone to reach. And let me tell you something about the human ego. It doesn't handle loss well. People convince themselves they'll be fine. They suppress, they distract, they run. But the brain doesn't forget. The heart doesn't delete. Science proves it. Our minds hold on to deep emotional connections long after we think they've faded. It's why people wake up years later and suddenly remember someone they thought they had forgotten. It's why nostalgia sneaks up when you least expect it. It's why the past never really stays in the past. They thought time would erase you, but time is only making them see the truth more clearly. And that's why they lurk. That's why they check in when you least expect it. Not because they want to come back. No, their pride won't allow that. But because they need to know. They need to see if you're still there, still suffering, still missing them like they secretly miss you. Because as long as you are, as long as you're still affected, they can hold on to the illusion